Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Chatter. Today, I am delighted to be joined by Ben Wehrman, podcaster, blogger, GME enthusiast, Bitcoiner, shitposter, and someone who has manifested the recent developments regarding GameStop and Bitcoin into reality. You've meme-fested them. It's a term I've coined in writing the book. You've meme-fested it into reality. So congratulations, man. Like we're talking, a few days after this announcement, but like what was your like initial reaction when you saw it?
Oh man, so happy, dude. It's just this has been so many years in the making, and it certainly wasn't only me. Like as we were talking about before the call, we've had guys like John Waldron and Mozart, our boys in the top secret GME BTC group chat. They've been, sending proposals over to the board, and I've been just like pushing, trying to, get the investors on board from the grassroots level. And this other guy who goes by Future Self Doc on Twitter, I think he's openly sharing his name as Spencer. I hope that's not a bad thing. But yeah, and he's been making Reddit posts about it, just getting people educated on that end. But the ball is really starting to move of this whole GameStop community understanding how huge Bitcoin is and how it's going to be a part of this story in a very big way. And it's taken a few years for us to get to where it's like Ryan Cohen and the team have really embraced that, which is super exciting. And like you said, we're right in the middle of it right now. So this is kind of an on-the-fly episode. They didn't even announce any amount that they're going to buy yet. They just said, we, in a nutshell, like we're going to have a Bitcoin treasury, pretty much. And they raised 1.3 billion in like 0% interest, and we're just going to wait and see what happens. It's exciting. We're very much in the thick of it. So maybe tomorrow some huge news will come out and we'll instantly become outdated, but that's part of the fun. We're just one big crazy ride.
When did you first think, or even when did you first, like, do you remember your first like joke or meme about this idea?
I mean, so I was a Bitcoiner before I even got into GME. I wasn't extremely hardcore Bitcoin maxi until around 2020, 2021. So, and I got even more. So every year after that, you just get more and more hardcore. That's how it goes. But I think I first started really getting intense about it when they first started trickling out about the NFTs, the GameStop NFT project, because that's when I knew like, oh, okay, I'm pretty sure NFTs are bullshit, but I wasn't, 100% toxic maxi yet. And so I really decided, okay, it's time for me to lock in and see what is the actual truth here when it comes to Bitcoin and crypto and Web3 NFTs and all this stuff. Like what is the signal? Because there's a lot of noise there. And so I really locked in and read the Bitcoin Standard, which, all the Bitcoin maximalists always say you need to read that book before you even open your mouth on this stuff. And I can now, as someone who's done that, I could agree. And this is why I share that with the people who are now like in my old shoes of saying like, oh, it's, Bitcoin only is too toxic. Like you're too narrow-minded. We need some crypto too. I just say like, please read the Bitcoin Standard, please. Because it's such an. Have you read this book, by the way? Have you read the Bitcoin Standard?
I actually haven't read the Bitcoin Standard.
Oh, yeah.
I have read numerous books on crypto and Bitcoin, but not the Bitcoin Standard.
It's the Bible, man. It's the Bitcoin Bible, and it's just it's so well put together. And Saifedean Ammous, the author, has now made some other ones, the Fiat Standard, Principles of Economics, and he's just about to release another one about gold. It might be called a Gold Standard, I think. But he's just such a great author, and he lays out the case so extremely well that I really just try to start people there. But anyway, to get back to your question, yeah, I would say it was probably around late 2021 to early 2022 when they started talking about the NFT stuff. I can't remember the exact day, but yeah, that's when I started pushing back right away, and I quickly became controversial for saying that what Ryan Cohen is doing is not correct right now. We need to be buying Bitcoin instead. And it was, Bitcoin was significantly cheaper back then. It would have been great if you listened, but everyone gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. That's one of the old sayings. And hey, it's better we get it now than 3 years later, because it's going to be worth more then. It's just going to keep going up. This is the power of like perfectly scarce supply and increasing demand. That's what happens is the price just keeps going up. So super happy it's happening now, and we're getting in while we are as a company and as investors. I'm super happy about this, super excited, and can't wait to see what happens next. I think it's going to really change the game.
Are you all worried about the amount of Bitcoin that gets bought up by people like BlackRock now?
So that's a very common question, and I definitely appreciate it because people are thinking properly about, big topics here. Like, do we want these bad companies, of which I will just say BlackRock is a bad company. It's like a branch of the government at this point, run by Larry Fink, and nothing trustworthy about it, nothing good about BlackRock, what they do, in my opinion. Here's the thing. Bitcoin is an open protocol, which means everyone can buy it, even the bad guys. So eventually they will have to bend the knee to it, and they will be buying it too. And that's part of what you have to accept is there's no way to have an open monetary network and block out certain people that you don't like. And so this is that happening in action. But the difference is now, so will, BlackRock make profit from buying a bunch of Bitcoin and the Bitcoin price going up? Yes. However, once they are in the system and everyone is in the system, there will be an aspect of scarcity to the money. So they're essentially being forced. They're not, I promise you, they don't love that we're moving to a system where you can no longer print money for yourself. But they're being forced into doing it as well as the other institutions. And once the hyper Bitcoinization process commences and we are eventually on a Bitcoin standard where there is no more fiat, which is where Bitcoin goes, then they don't have the money printer anymore. And it forces responsibility onto all these companies. So they can't keep recklessly spending and just doing crazy shit with the money constantly everywhere, where we see just infinite money printing for infinite wars and violence everywhere. And, all the fiat gains we see in the stock market is all due to them just having infinitely printable money and connections in the government that can, keep the games going. That all stops on Bitcoin. So in the short term, like, of course, it's highly preferred that the more little guys and the more retail people get Bitcoin, the better. I'm not going to say that isn't true. And this is why I'm so passionate about spreading education about it. But here's the thing. Something like, and I'm bad at remembering the exact number, so I apologize if this is not correct. I think it's something like 97% of the Bitcoin is already mined. So like the little guys have already front ran the huge institutions. Like they've gotten a bunch of the Bitcoin already. So it's going to be a relatively small amount they're even able to get. And it's just all going to end up good long term because of the scarcity component.
As of October 2024, 94.5% of all Bitcoins have already been mined.
Perfect.
That was of October last year, so there's a bit more than that.
Yeah. So roughly 95. I mean, people aren't really thinking about it in that perspective. The fact that we're, already very far through the mining process, and we still haven't even seen the takeoff point yet where people realize, oh, the exchanges don't actually have all this Bitcoin they say they do. There's going to be a crazy squeeze there. Like that's going to be another massive short squeeze.
So you think exchanges are
slightly different?
You think some of the exchanges are lying about people holding Bitcoin with them?
Exchanges are always going to lie. I think that's just kind of part of the exchange game. It's in their business model to sometimes say they have things that they don't. That's always been the case. And I just think, you always hear the saying to not keep your coins on the exchange. And that's extremely important because at some point they're going to get caught with their pants down. It's just kind of inevitable in my opinion. And there's going to be, that whole business model is going to go away eventually because once all the Bitcoin is in supply, then it's all going to be peer to peer. It's just going to be the money that's out in the world. And no one's going to trade, dollars for Bitcoin at that point because dollars will be useless. They'll be worth zero. So there will be nothing to exchange. Now that is a speculation, of course, like maybe there will be other currencies at some point, but I think Bitcoin will be the global reserve currency. It'll be the main one that everyone wants. So it's not going to be like today where, you can just like shove your money into an exchange and get Bitcoin out of it in quite a high quantity compared to what it will be. One of the things I just like to remind people is you're not going to be able to change your government monopoly tokens for Bitcoin forever, because Bitcoin is sound money and the government money it's just trash. It's toilet paper.
Oh, well,
Most people just haven't figured that out yet.
yeah, it's all right. I was just trying to look at the price of Bitcoin here, actually. I was just
I think
curious.
it's like 84 or something as we record this.
I'm just having a little look.
Something like that.
Uh, 83.297.
Yep, there we go.
Oh my goodness. I'm trying to get this full screen up, but it just doesn't want to
Down
work.
3% today. Yeah, it's volatile, but only in fiat terms, which is another thing that a lot of people mistake, is that they think that, oh, it's super volatile, so I'm scared of it. But what you need to be thinking is like it's measured in fiat. It's measured in, most people get dollars, and dollars are extremely volatile, but they don't really understand that because it's just the money that they're holding. But dollars are volatile in the down direction. When you look over, many decades, you can see like look at like the purchasing power of $1 over time graph on Google Images, and you'll just see this like constantly going down line. And that's why things are so expensive, why inflation is so bad. That's what inflation is. It's like the dollar is getting wasted away through money printing. And so Bitcoin is the antidote to that. You can't print Bitcoin. It's perfectly scarce. It's deflationary. It mimics gold in that sense. So it fixes that whole problem, and it will stop this bleeding out of your purchasing power that you worked for. And it's just so fundamentally unfair that 99.9% of the world has to work and pour in blood, sweat, and tears to earn this paper money or paper currency, as it truly is. It's not even money. And there's a small elite few who can just print it for themselves and dilute everyone else's purchasing power. And this is what happens when the government controls anything, is it makes it worse. So nothing more example of that than money, where it makes everything worse. Everything trickles down from that and just truly ruins all aspects of society. And I will recommend another, both a book and a podcast episode I did with Jimmy Song. I'm not sure if you've heard of Jimmy Song, but he has a book called Fiat Ruins Everything. And I did a podcast with him of the same title if people want to get sort of an overview. But it basically makes the case that fiat money or fiat currency is the root cause of literally every big problem in society people complain about today. They just don't really know it. Like when inflation is getting worse, everyone's getting poorer. People have no ability to save. They can't think about the future. They stop having kids. They stop eating healthy food. The pharmaceutical industry takes over and gets them more dependent on drugs. And it just causes this spiraling effect where there are no problems that you can't trace back to broken money. And I think that that's so true. And it's true in the corporate sense as well, bringing GameStop back into it, where, they have right now, as we speak, about $6 billion of cash that they're sitting on. And they had, it was 4.5 for like, almost the last 9 or 10 months or so. And that's why I would just slamming the table saying, Ryan, go and buy Bitcoin, man. This money is melting away. The value is literally disintegrating. As Michael Saylor says, it's the melting ice cube of fiat. And it was, this is why people, the sooner you can get Bitcoin, the better. It doesn't matter what the price is in the current moment. I just smash buy whenever I can, because sound money is always going to be better than fiat. And long term, it's just going to be like, you're getting nitpicky over certain numbers, whether it's 80K or 90K or 100K right now, is going to look like an absolute joke in 5 years or definitely 10 years when it's in the millions or tens of millions of dollars worth, because the dollars are going to be so useless at that point. You're going to wonder, why didn't I just trade this all for Bitcoin when it was, so much cheaper in dollar terms? And everyone learns at some point, it's the Bitcoin's a freight train. It keeps rolling. And we all figure it out eventually. I definitely wasted my time in crypto too. That was part of my story. I had a crypto blog for a few years when I was traveling in Australia and New Zealand. I still remember this. I was writing about, Monero and Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin and Ethereum, like all these cool, like other crypto coins with all these utilities. But you end up just realizing Bitcoin is the king and all the others are just going to go to zero. They're just fiat currencies. They're just recreations of fiat. They have developer teams and CEOs instead of Federal Reserves. It's just another team that controls the money. And whenever your money is controlled by a centralized team, it's not going to work long term, especially not when there's now a decentralized money available for people to choose. It's just the best one because it has the best monetary properties.
Do you think the US are going to get on board with the Bitcoin, the strategic reserve or whatever you want to call it?
You said the apes, you said?
No, the US.
Oh, the US. I think they're going to have to, along with everyone else. And this is a really interesting question. I remember last year at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville, I was at the Trump's speech that he did there, just kind of watching and listening and just thinking, like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. Like, this will be interesting. I wonder what happens if he wins. But it really just comes down to if the U.S. wants to have a good position in the future or not, because we've already seen smaller countries who have less to lose starting to adopt it. And on paper, it seems like the U.S. would be the last country to adopt it because we have the most to lose. We have the global reserve currency right now. And so that was sort of my opinion for a while, was like, oh crap, like the U.S. is screwed. All the smaller countries are going to get it first and we're going to be last. So it's going to be bad news for my homeland. But it is possible. And it looks now with the strategic Bitcoin reserve that was announced, they haven't come out and said, like, we're buying $bazillion of Bitcoin, but I know Cynthia Lummis, the senator from Wyoming, is proposing. She's been a big proponent of getting into Bitcoin for a long time. She's talking about, pushing a bill to buy 1 million Bitcoin. And I don't know what exactly that would look like. It would be crazy. It would be wild. That would send ripples through the whole market and probably kick things off in a big way. But I think that just the fact that these things are being talked about is still pushing the international game theory forward, and the timer of being able to be extremely early to Bitcoin are definitely ending. I think that we've just in the last couple of years shifted from the extremely early to like the early phase. Yeah. We're still early. We're still really early. I mean, Bitcoin, it's only been around for, was it 16 years or something like that? And I mean, this is technology meant for, 1,000+ years, like sound money. It's going to keep working forever. So we're still definitely early, but the earlier you are, the better. And I'm glad GameStop's getting in now and not 5 years from now after a whole bunch of countries jump in and pile in and start buying this thing.
So how do these 1.3 billion in convertible notes work?
I'm stupid when it comes to all these fiat things, like how the actual mechanics of it work. This is why I have smart friends in the group chat to explain fiat, because I like the simplicity of Bitcoin for my simple, stupid brain, where you just have 21 million coins and you can't make any more. And it gets rid of this intentionally complicated system. But essentially, I mean, the GameStop just raised $1.3 billion worth of money. They can do whatever they want with, just increasing the size of their treasure chest. So, I mean, that's the important part I think people need to know, is that they now have even more money they can throw whatever they want. And of course, I think they should just YOLO it all into Bitcoin. They have like 6 billion worth. That would make a huge splash, and they would instantly jump up to the number 2 corporate Bitcoin holder in the world behind MicroStrategy. They would leapfrog, Mara, Marathon, and Coinbase, and Tesla, and all these other companies that have bought Bitcoin over the years. We could just leapfrog them instantly and be right behind Michael Saylor. And I think that would be so poetic, because we saw Michael Saylor and Ryan Cohen take a picture together. They've clearly connected and are in touch. So if they are the top 2 corporations holding Bitcoin, I mean, that would be epic. And GameStop buying Bitcoin would be a whole different beast than MicroStrategy buying Bitcoin, because I remember, back in 2020 when MicroStrategy first jumped into this thing, because that was right around that time period I told you I was really digging in. And I was listening to Michael Saylor going on all these Bitcoin podcasts, right as he was just a nobody going to, from a nobody to like a huge Bitcoin star right overnight. And just listening to him talk about it, just thinking, wow, he gets it. He finally gets it. And I remember thinking this was going to kick off crazy domino effect right away. There's going to be all sorts of corporations coming in now. He's explaining exactly how it's working, and it's like game theory is about to really ramp from here. And that didn't really happen. That was 5 years ago, and we still haven't really seen it, which is quite a surprise. And I know that, a lot of people, both, for Michael Saylor on the corporate side and El Salvador on the nation state side, a lot of us Bitcoiners thought that was really going to kick things off, but it really just shows how early that they were and how ballsy they were in being the first movers in both of their realms. And the fact that like we're now seeing Ryan Cohen still had, like, I never would have thought 5 years later some CEO would still have the chance to jump in and basically tail right alongside Saylor, but here we are, and he can. He has $6 billion to work with. And I think it's just such a huge opportunity. And I really want to see them jump on it and go all in, because this is the time to go all in on the future of money. It's going to be huge for the company, huge for the shareholders. So many possibilities they could do with it. They could, they could just put all the Bitcoin on the balance sheet right away, and that's already amazing. They could open up even more Bitcoin income streams. They could start accepting Bitcoin for their products online, in stores. They could have Bitcoin ATMs in stores. That's one that I've been, saying for years. Like, that's so easy to do. You could just throw a Bitcoin ATM in there and take a fee, and that's instant money you could make. And Bitcoin merch, so many people are like getting into Bitcoin now around the world that just selling Bitcoin shirts or memorabilia like GameStop does. I think that would be a great move as well. So many opportunities there, and I'm just so excited to see what they do with it.
Yeah. To answer my question, before I ask you something about that, I've asked Grok how the $1.3 billion offering works. So it says GameStop's $1.3 billion offering refers to a private placement of 0.0% convertible senior notes due 2030, announced on March 27, 2025, with sale expected to close on April 1st, that's tomorrow, assuming blah, blah, blah. Here's how it works. GameStop is borrowing $1.3 billion from qualified institutional buyers, big investors like hedge funds or banks, by issuing these notes, which are essentially IOUs, so like shares. These notes don't pay any regular interest, which is unusual for debt. It means GameStop doesn't owe extra cash over time beyond the principal amount. The notes mature on the 1st of April 2030, meaning GameStop has to pay the $1.3 billion by then, unless something happens earlier. What makes these notes...
Basically, they're making a huge bet that the price is going to go up a ton.
Yeah.
So this is one of the big parts that people need to get, is that we now have big boy institutions on the long side of this that want to see it go up a lot. So no longer a David versus Goliath story, and it's just increases the assuredness that the MOAS thesis will come true, because like this isn't, it's not as simple as I'm just screwing retail anymore. Like there are big sharks in this water that are going to make sure that eventually the real math is shown, and we all know what the real math is. It's stupid. It says up only.
Yeah. It's yeah, hopefully. That'd be nice. What makes these notes convertible is that lenders can choose to turn their IOUs into GameStop stock instead of getting cash back, but only under certain conditions before the 1st of January 2030, or any time after that until maturity. The initial conversion rate is 33 shares per $1,000 of principal, which translates to a stock price of about $29.85 per share, a 37.5% premium over the stock's price on the 27th of March 2025. If the stock price rises above this level, lenders might convert to get shares worth more than their loan. GameStop can decide whether to repay with cash, shares, or a mix when conversion happens. GameStop expects to net about $1.28 billion after fees and plans to use the money for general corporate purposes, including buying Bitcoin. They also give the buyers an option to purchase an additional $200 million in notes within 13 days of issuance, potentially bumping the total up to $1.5 billion. Nice. So,
Very nice.
so why do you think why do you think they needed to buy? Why do you think they needed these notes? Like, are they like they're sitting on 4.5 billion? Like, why do they need more?
I would say just why not? 0.0%.
Mhm.
Just stack even more. And there are a lot of connections to what Michael Saylor did, which was similar, which was he just kept on, raising more and more money because he could, and it worked. And you could just keep growing your stack that way. And it just creates this infinite loop where you keep just buying Bitcoin with that. You're basically getting free money to buy Bitcoin with, which is going to increase the price of Bitcoin because that's a huge amount of money you're throwing around. It's growing your size of the digital real estate that you have. It creates a flywheel effect because then your stock goes up as well because people are saying, "Oh crap, like I want exposure in this." And this is what we've seen with MicroStrategy. It's just like an insanely performing stock over the last several years since they bought Bitcoin. And as soon as sales started implementing that, it just, creates craziness in the stock. And that's not even including all the short squeeze mechanics that we have in GameStop. So when you really think about what that could mean, it means madness. And which is why people like myself and you and others are so comfortable in this thing because we know that the math underlying it is absurd and it's only a matter of time before it gets shown. And I think that Bitcoin is going to be a huge catalyst in exposing that math and kicking things off in a big way, which are going to be chaotic to say the least.
What is going on with the price? It's 20. It's currently $21.81. I've taken the opportunity to buy some more.
Good man, smart.
Buy the dip.
I wish I had money left to buy.
I did buy loads, but some, every little helps. But like actually, legit though, what's going on? Like, why the price run up all the way to 28, and then now the last couple of days, obviously we've seen insane short volume, but like, why would short volume that I believe equals the month of January 2021, which is wild. But like, why would we seeing such massive short volume? Like, why are institutions or whoever it turns out is short in this? Like, why are they bothering? Like, against everything you've said, why are they trying to slam the price down?
Yeah, I mean, that's all they know how to do, right? They have one button, it's the big giant short button. I mean, I don't know if there's, super logical answer other than that's all that they can do and just continue delaying the inevitable and can continue bearing it and kicking the can to live another day. And some people had posted, I think this was one of the ones that I mentioned earlier, the guy that goes by Rad Doc on Reddit made a great post yesterday, basically showing the huge similarities between Bitcoin GameStop and MicroStrategy when it first did the same exact thing and issued these notes many years ago. And it started with a huge dip, just like we're seeing right now, and then it just started this monumental rise. And I don't know the exact mechanics. We know there's algorithms that are working a ton behind the scenes that are making this happen. And, the shorts are just going to continue shorting. That's what they do. And like every other GME investor, this doesn't faze me at all at this point. I just know that's what they're doing. And I wish I had more to keep buying dips because we know that the math is sound and it's going to turn around eventually once people figure out what's actually going on. And once they actually buy the Bitcoin too. As far as we know, they haven't actually bought yet. They've only announced that they will. So hopefully that happens and then we'll see things kick off.
Interesting. Do you think it's this Arabian Sultan dude? Who is it?
Prince.
The
Yeah,
Prince.
the Sultan guy. I don't know what to believe about that guy because
Prince.
I mean, that's been the big hype of the Reddit for a while. I still haven't seen any for sure confirmation that that's even him on Twitter. I'm not like maybe it is. I'm just being stupid, but like the handle isn't even spelled the same as his name, which is weird. He posted that picture with Ryan Cohen, and it was like clearly photoshopped, which was weird. I haven't dug enough into,
Well, hang on. Go back to the Photoshop bit. What do you mean? It was clearly Photoshop.
so
Was it?
let me try to find this. Let me, is it was a picture of him and Ryan Cohen at, oh, what's his name? I can't remember how to spell his name. Do you remember how to spell his name?
No,
Al-Madid or
I'm
something?
looking up his name right now.
Yeah. But basically, there's a picture of him at dinner with Ryan Cohen, and you can see, if you look around the edge of Ryan Cohen's head, it's like Photoshop. So I don't even know what's going on. If it's just a giant troll or what. But we did see them take a picture together at one. Okay, I found a picture here. I can share my screen. Give me a sec.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to find who it was, but I can't seem to find it. The guy.
So let me do it. Window. Okay. Can you see my Twitter? Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, like when you zoom in behind his ear right here, what is this? See that?
What?
And there's something a little weird over here too, but it just looks like he's photoshopped in. I don't know. Like I
Hang on. Now that you say it, I can't unsee it. He does look really photoshopped into that.
Yeah, I don't know. It like this is just speculation. I still like the post because it's hype, and of course I'm gonna just I'm never against boosting random hype. But yeah, it's just it's weird. I don't know. But Ryan Cohen did post a picture with the guy, so that could very much be all real. And they're just like maybe they're just adding a little bit of sauce onto it by putting some extra pictures in there. I don't know. I have no idea in general. Like that whole side of things is interesting. There was definitely some interesting speculation when that 1.3 billion first got announced. Like there was a thread of that guy talking about, or that guy's partner, I think, was talking with someone on Twitter and sort of hinting that maybe they're the ones buying it. I don't know. I have no idea. There's lots of things going on behind the scenes. I think that's what we can say for sure, though.
Yeah,
and it's all bullet.
Okay, that's weird. Yeah, interesting. Sorry, I've just seen when I logged on to search for that, I've just seen that Virginia Giuffre, the woman who accused Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein of sex trafficking and rape and all that stuff, has been hit by a bus.
No way.
I bet that's nothing weird going on there. She's in hospital and says she has days to live.
Yep. Sounds about right.
Fuck.
Tends to happen to people that know too much.
You ever worried?
About what?
Knowing too
Getting hit by
much?
a bus?
Yeah.
You know what? Here's what I think, man. I think there has to be people that break the door down and take the fire. And, a lot of people call me stupid for using my real name and like going after certain people really hard and certain ideas really hard that are like the untouchable things and get you banned and disappeared easily. But I just think that there are enough people out there doing it that if you're scared to jump on board and continue like fighting the good fight because you're just worried about what could happen, I just feel like that's too cowardly. I can't do that. I have to go all in and really push for it. And I go even harder on Nostr. Like, I have you gotten on Nostr yet, dude?
I don't have time.
Nostr is amazing.
I don't have any time. I'm barely on Twitter anymore these days. I don't have time. I can make my podcast. I can post about it sometimes, and I can just about keep up with stuff. I don't have time for more.
Yeah.
I wish I did.
I'm a huge fan of Nostr, dude. Like, I that makes sense for sure. But for those listening, if you haven't heard of Nostr yet, what
makes it better?
So it's essentially, it takes the same things that make Bitcoin awesome, but it translates it over to social media. So instead of a sound money, we have an unstoppable communication protocol. And the way it works is using Twitter as sort of a baseline where you have a single server where all of the information, all the tweets, all the media goes through, and you have a single client, which is just the app. So you have a single app to get into Twitter and a single server where all of the information goes through. That creates major centralization, obviously, because there's only one of those two things. And people can get banned and censored at the whim of whoever is in charge at the time, which is now Elon. And Nostr is a very different idea of social media where it's built on a protocol instead of a platform. So think like email, where you have lots of different apps you can use. You can use Outlook or Gmail or Proton Mail or all these things, send emails, and they still work fine, and people can get them on different apps that they're using. There's no centralization there. And there's also no single server. It's like an open protocol, like on the internet. So Nostr, you can use all sorts of these different apps to access the same feed, and they're all a little bit different. They have different vibe and developer teams creating them. And so it's a very different idea. There's no central point of failure, though. You can't be banned from it because instead of having a single server that everything runs through, like Twitter or Instagram, anyone can run their own server called relays. So similar to how Bitcoin, you can run your own node, and you're part of this network of this unstoppable whack-a-mole game, decentralized across the whole world. The same thing is true on Nostr. You can run your own relay where you can send your posts through, and in order to stop you from posting, the police will literally have to come to your house and like take away your relay, which is super impractical at this point. And by default, you're posting to a bunch of relays. So like, 15, 20 relays that are all like the main ones that are out there already that you can use. And it just splits up the server side and it splits up the app side. So there isn't a single point of failure on there. It's just much safer. And it's really fascinating. And also Bitcoin is natively integrated onto it. So instead of, just a retweet and a like button, there's a repost button, a like button, and a little lightning bolt zap button where you can send Bitcoin to people for their posts, just one tap, and it just shoots Bitcoin over to them. And so I'm getting a lot of Bitcoin from just posting memes and posting insights and blog posts and podcasts and things I normally post on the other platforms. I'm posting on there and I'm earning Bitcoin for it. So it's really awesome. And I really encourage people to go try it out. And I even made a tweet about this about, a few days ago, how all the GameStop folks who are now starting to warm up to the idea of Bitcoin now that Ryan Cohen is supporting it more, go get on Nostr. There's a great client that I use called Primal, which is, a good starter app. It's got a built-in Bitcoin wallet, a Lightning wallet, and it makes it super easy to play with. You can create an account super easily and start, using social media of the future, which I really think it is, where you can shoot Bitcoin around for content. It's great. And that can be your first real example of using Bitcoin in your normal routine, and you can see how cool it is, how awesome it is. You can feel it as soon as you post a meme and you earn Bitcoin for it. It's like, what have I been doing on Twitter all this time? Just, susceptible to all these stupid algorithms and censorship, and I'm not even getting paid for it, and I can have my account taken down at any time. That's stupid. On Nostr, you actually own your content and you get paid for it. It's just so much better.
Yeah, that's frustrating me. You have to be at millions and millions and millions of impressions to get anything from Twitter.
And I literally hit the threshold that they gave, by the way. This was, I think, several months ago, I made a post about this. I hit every single one of the checkboxes that they required for payment. And the one checkbox they would not fill was the 5 million impressions. And I was at like 6 or 7 million. I was posting it like, hey, here it is right here. It shows it's my 7 million impressions. I've been watching it go up to that. And it's still showing that the box isn't checked. And people were telling me, oh, it takes some time for it to process or whatever. Weeks later, still nothing happened. Months later went by and eventually just completely passed. And then I just never got monetized. It completely locked me out for no reason. And so it's just stupid to have gatekeepers around monetization anyway. Why do we just accept that? On Nostr, you can immediately monetize on day one. You can, like, the first post that you make, which is, typically part of the sort of culture there is you make an introductions post, hashtag introductions. You explain who you are. Hi, I'm Ben. I'm a GameStop investor. Happy to be here to learn about Bitcoin. Hashtag introductions. If you make that post, put up a couple pictures of yourself. A lot of people follow that hashtag and will shoot you Bitcoin as your first sats of the protocol. And so anyone can go do that right now. And the next, takes 5-10 minutes to create an account and make that post. And you'll start earning Bitcoin with no third parties anywhere. No gatekeepers, no nothing.
That's yeah. The third parties are part of the gatekeepers. Like if you, it's because you're getting money from people, not corporations, basically.
Yeah.
That's not. Yeah. Anyway,
and you can also use real quick before we move on. You can also use these Nostr apps just as like Venmo replacement because it's a wallet. So like I just talked about, Primal is the one that I use really well. And it has a great built-in wallet where I just have a bunch of sats on there that I've stacked from posting memes and people sending me stuff. But I also use that to buy and sell things in real life. So I'm living in Costa Rica right now, where a lot of places accept Bitcoin. So I will go out and, I need to go get some eggs and some beef soon. There's this place called Segura's right down the road, and they accept Bitcoin. So I'm going to go buy some more ground beef and some eggs. I'm going to use the sats that I earned from posting on Nostr to buy that stuff.
Nice.
Right out of the same app. It's amazing. It's game changing.
Putting food in your mouth.
Exactly.
Food on the table. Yeah, man. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go because I'd only thought we were with the times. I thought we'd be starting a bit earlier. I'm sad because I want to keep talking, but yeah.
We'll have more to talk about soon, dude. This is the thing. Like, this is kind of that's the beauty of a spontaneous rip in the middle of the madness, is that we can just kind of talk about it. And as updates keep coming, we can just do more, shorter ones, and instead of one like gigantic one when we don't even know what's happening yet.
Yeah.
So I think this will be great.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Call it part 1, and then we'll
yes.
come back once we've got more information about the stuff. But yeah, that means actually that I'll just drop this tomorrow then instead of waiting a week or two. That's the best idea.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's been an absolute pleasure. I want to talk more about stuff because there's loads of things I want to ask you about, but I don't have time. I will put your links in the description for everybody, and probably give Nostr a go by the sounds of things. I'll at least check it out. Maybe it's better than Twitter. Maybe I'll just ditch it altogether.
Oh yeah, it's so much better than Twitter, dude. It's the future. Mm-hmm.
I like the future. That sounds better than Twitter. Great, right? But yeah, thanks very much, man. It's been a pleasure.
You as well. It's been awesome chatting. Thanks all for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, listeners, real quick. Do you ever find yourself sitting watching the stock market like this? Well, now you could instead be ordering my book like this. It's the story of GameStop. You can purchase it with a hoodie, with acknowledgements, or just with the early backers edition. It's all about the GameStop story. It's the real story, not just what you've seen on films. It's exactly what has happened over the last 3.5 years. And with DFE back, I'm finally able to draw a conclusion to my book. Please pre-order it. It really helps me out. And you will get it eventually, I promise. Hopefully this year.